Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up the possibility of spirituality in your own life, yet removes the woo-woo that is out there on social media. Welcome. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Matilda and I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. I've been practicing for well over 20 years and I'm very passionate about bringing the reality of mediumship, spirituality, how it can enhance your life and help you on a day-to-day basis. This week, I'm going to be talking about energy and how important it is, and it pretty much is everything. We're going to be talking about the New Age and some of the conspiracy theories that they've been spreading lately, and my thoughts on the New Age people, realm, cults, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to be making my predictions at the end for the eclipse and the next couple of weeks. So listen in for those. But first of all, my job is to thank all my wonderful new Patreon subscribers. If you don't know about Patreon, there will be a link in my bio for my Patreon. This week, I've added an extra Patreon podcast. Usually it's one a month, but this week, because of what's been going on with the royal family and all the conspiracy theories and terrible gossip, I decided to open up and probably divulge some information that I don't normally divulge, and that especially not on social media, and literally given everything that I've received since just before Christmas on the royal family. If you remember, I did predict the King's health crisis almost 12 months ago, and that he would not have a reign as long as he would have liked. In fact, it'll be rather short. And I predicted Kate's illness too. So that's all across on TikTok. But I decided that I'm just a bit sick of the gossip. I'm a bit sick of all the conspiracy theories, and that I would add an extra Patreon-only podcast. But my Patreon holds a lot of extra predictions, a lot of extra things that I don't usually get to put on social media. Social media has become quite restrictive recently, and putting stuff on Patreon means that I have a little bit more freedom to talk about issues in depth, and especially in the current climate where we have a couple of conflicts going on. People are constantly asking on social media, but the moment that any creator mentions them, their views go down and they are shadow banned. So I've added, that was my normal podcast for Patreon, was regarding some of the conflicts going on and things around President Trump. So I'm going to thank all my recent Patreon supporters for their wonderful trust in me. I really can't say enough and explain, or it's just the amount of people that are joining me on Patreon. I'm tickled pink. I don't know how else to explain it. So I'm going to thank this week's supporters: Anita Maloney, Lois, Alexandra Luciano, Roshni, D'Souza, I got it in the end, Mainly Psychic, Sinead, Trisha, Stephanie Freeman. Thank you so much. It's just amazing how engaged you are. It's so nice over there. We have a community that are interested in growth. There are some courses going up onto Patreon during May that are going to be based around resilience, self-love, really taking your power back. And that's something that I'm very, very passionate about. There's an age group out there that a huge amount of that age group are really struggling with resilience and the world news at the moment and things that are going on. And I think that it's really important that we help them as much as we possibly can, because they are our future and they need to know how powerful they are. So that is going to go up in May when I work on it, but I've got some time off over Easter to be able to put that all together. It's been such a busy week this week. For those of you that joined me in Melbourne, thank you. It was just such a delightful 3 days. I was in Melbourne doing in-person readings and met some absolutely wonderful people who, from all walks of life, who have found me through either my podcast, my social media, or they've been referred by friends. And that's how I used to work. I spent years working just on referral because I was very, very careful about who I worked with. And the reason for that is energy and the amount of energy that we all have, which I'll go into in a little bit. But yeah, we had a great 3 days in Melbourne, in-person readings. We had a beautiful venue. Everyone was absolutely delightful and amazing. And I can't thank you enough for joining me. And I took a day off on Sunday. My eldest son, Ollie, came down and spent Saturday night with me. And we went off and we did Melbourne Museum and the Titanic Museum with him and his partner. And it was just beautiful. So I had a great day off. I came home and went into readings on Monday. And today's Tuesday, so I'm recording this a little bit late because of everything that I've had going on. And for the first time ever, I actually cancelled 2 readings today. I didn't cancel them, I postponed them. And if you are a member of those 2, I apologise. You will have your reading. I think Kerry, my assistant, has rebooked you. I needed a day without readings. I take 2 days off a week anyway, and I usually only work 4 hours a day. But because of the 3 days of in-person readings, I actually didn't realise how exhausted I would be. And I just needed a day to ground myself and to do things around my office, get prepared. I've got a lot going on in the next week. I've got a photo shoot that I have to decide what I'm going to wear, actually, and get ready for. So it's just been really, really busy. And if you haven't listened already, there is a new podcast out called The Sassy Seers, where myself and the amazing Laurie Rivers talk about behind the scenes, what it's like being an energy worker, what it's like after a long day's work. It's basically us chatting after a long day and about our week, and you get a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look. So if you haven't listened already, go across and listen to The Sassy Seers. You can find it on all podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. And there's a couple of shorts of other recordings that we've put on YouTube as well. But also, if you are a member of my Patreon, there is an hour-long joint live that we did on YouTube. It is privately linked for our Patreon supporters, and it's us with a lot of predictions, especially around the eclipse. So go and have a look at that. Energy is absolutely everything. And a lot of people don't think that the internal side of us can create energy. We wait for the energy to be brought to us by external sources. Now, spiritual energy is so important in everyday life because it's what creates us. It's particularly important if you are wanting to create something, whether that be a business, or whether it be a project, whether it be something that you want to take out to the masses. Your spiritual energy, your internal energy is what is going to be important in that. I'm going to just explain how that can work. I have always been a bit befuddled by why people are drawn to me. They want to be my friend. They want to be part of my inner circle. I have a very, very tiny, tiny inner circle because I've learnt over the years who is good for me and who is bad for me. But for years, I was really befuddled. I grew up with the concept that I was nothing. I didn't deserve much, or I was less than, because that's what I got from my parents and my family. When you are the butt of every joke in a family, you begin to build that concept of yourself that you are nothing at all. You are not worthy. Yet when I went out into the world, or I would start work, or I was at school, or I was just being me, I was really befuddled by the fact that so many people were drawn to me. And it would make me really doubt that they were interested in me as a friend, because I was told that I didn't deserve friends or didn't deserve people. And we're going back many, many years. I'm in my 50s now. We're going back into my teens and 20s. It wasn't until I started working with spirituality, and I worked with a mentor, and I've had different mentors or done different things over my life, where I was told that my inner self, my soul, was what drew people to me. And apparently I have quite a kind soul. So that, it did befuddle me. But once I started working on self-concept and how much energy I gave out and things like that, I started to understand it a little bit better. Now, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet or anything like that. It was an observation, and it was the best way for me to explain that observation. Your energy is what's going to draw people to you. Your energy is made up of your self-concept and how you think about yourself, but also how you emanate that energy to other people. Now, that works in both a personal life and a private life. However, during that time that people were drawn to me, I would get incredibly depleted incredibly quickly. I would want to be on my own. I would want to withdraw. I would be tired. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So to bring it down to basics, to start this off, what we put out is what we bring in. Our spiritual energy is our concept of ourselves, the positivity that we share, the negativity that we share. That is what builds our spiritual energy. Generally, people think of energy as physical energy, exhausting ourselves going for a walk, a run, running our kids ragged in order to help them sleep at night. We always think that physical energy is the most important, but there's always emotional and spiritual and mental energy, and all of these energy sources are equally valuable in fueling the success of how you are perceived in this world. But we do often ignore the spiritual energy. Essentially, it is the energy generated by your inner self. What we would call our soul, our self-concept of ourselves, it is determined by our positivity and our values and our convictions. While we already know a lot about physical and emotional energy and how it can impact us in our lives, we don't concentrate on spiritual energy and how it can improve our success in everyday life. And if we're wanting to, our business growth or our work growth. If we are thinking negatively, or we are reacting in a negative way, or bringing negativity in any way, we are seen. The universe sees everything. This includes people that will judge other people. It will include if you are going about your day-to-day life and only thinking about yourself and putting other people down, whether that's putting negative things on social media, talking negatively about people, whether it is talking negatively about yourself, saying that you're not worthy of something, or you don't belong, or you feel bad, so you want to make other people feel bad. This is why I preach about affirmations and how they really help people grow and believe in themselves and what they can achieve. In a nutshell, it is our actions that from how we perceive ourselves on the inside and how we perceived our place in the world. Our spiritual energy is connected to our motivations, our drivers, and our passions. For a more tangible definition, some people refer to spiritual energy as a vibration. It is based on the conviction that everything around us consists of vibrational energy. Let's also establish here that being spiritual does not inherently mean you are a good person. And this is something that I preach all the time. I have seen so many people on social media claim to be mediums, claim to be psychics, claim to be living in a spiritual world. But the messages that they are giving out are negative and aimed at people that are vulnerable. And this is taking advantage of people. I will talk about that a little bit later on when I talk about the New Age side of things. But we need to remember that the quality of our spirituality depends on our actions. You don't need to look very far to find examples of very evil and highly spiritual people. Consider terrorist suicide bombers or even Adolf Hitler. They have a spiritual conviction, but they do and did have done horrific things. People that believe in spirituality aren't necessarily as clean-cut as they may seem. The same goes for a lot of people that preach Christianity, and yet their actions are anything but Christian. I see it a lot. I've heard it a lot. No greater than a lot of people in the USA that claim to be Christians, yet they judge and try and control things to suit their narrative. And that is the least Christian or spiritual thing that I can possibly think of. The undoing of that is happening over the next couple of years, and you will watch it. You will have a front row seat of it. Spiritual energy is everything is seen. You can't say that you are spiritual and then behave in an incredibly negative way and expect the results or the benefits of giving out good spiritual energy. It can make us realize that connection with the universe, the fact that we are all connected by the energy that we give out and the energy that we receive, and how connected to the universe we are. Whether you are spiritual, whether you are religious, it all comes full circle, and we don't even realize it. The thought of spirituality and energy will take you beyond your own narrow self-interest and will often push you towards your life purpose, where you can contribute to the greater good. Now, contributing to the greater good doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out there and do altruistic things on a day-to-day basis, but it's the energy that you give out that will bring the positive energy in. But if you think about the energy that you're giving out is going to affect how people perceive you and the positive things you bring in. We've talked about this when I've talked about how manifesting works, that the universe sees absolutely everything you do, everything you say, whether it is to yourself or how you think about yourself. So if you're manifesting and you're saying, I really want a new job or I want to move house, then underneath you're saying, oh, it's never going to happen because, or I'm not worthy because, you are never going to see the results that you want. The same if you are building something, whether you are building a relationship, friendships, a new business, a new career, everything that you put out is what you're going to bring in. I know you're all thinking about so many people that are in the news or the media that are giving all of this negative energy out, but they don't feel good about themselves. You're not seeing the internal workings of their mind. All you can do is try and counteract that by building a collective positive energy and pushing that out so that it affects the collective, not just you, and realizing that your energy is not just about you. Your spiritual energy is about everything that surrounds you. The universe is infinite, and I can't say that word, but when we think positively about ourselves, we think positively externally. Are we going to be happier if we contribute and have positive energy? Does it contribute to your happy life? Spiritual energy makes you optimistic and courageous. You forgive more easily, and in times of adversity, you are able to keep calm. This is what I talk about, the resilience that people need in order to understand themselves and what's going on in the world. You are the people that make a difference. Every single person listening to this podcast can make a difference by lifting your energy. It is one of those qualities that helps you lead a happier life. Seeking your energy from within leads to a more satisfying experience. External influences beyond your control no longer affect you the way that it does. I have seen something on social media this last week. I actually have seen a number of things. I don't know what's going on out there, but I try not to scroll very often. And this weekend I haven't, because I've been very busy and I was away. And then I was having a day with my son. But I came home and did some scrolling, and I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot deal with this negativity. So many people are putting negative things out there just to get likes and follows. But when you're inhaling that, when you are taking that on board, that's affecting your internal energy. So I just scrolled through. I blocked so many people. If somebody feels the need to make negative comments, and I've seen it with so many people, like I am not very vocal about the Middle East crisis, the war that's going on there at the moment. I have spoken about it on my Patreon, and obviously I do things behind the scenes. I may contribute. There's other things that I do that I am not going to be somebody that shows that off. But there was a very, very well-known creator, Elise Myers, that was driven off social media because she wouldn't comment on what is happening in Palestine. Why are we doing that? We actually need creators that are bringing positivity. Just because they're not talking about it on their platform doesn't mean to say that they're not doing something behind the scenes. They're not helping people. They're not part of some form of group that could be helping people. And by pushing and pushing and pushing creators to comment, when what they're trying to do is counteract the negativity by bringing joy to people, just shows how poor your own self-concept is if you are one of those people that have done that. It is just diabolical at the moment, trying to make people accountable for something that they have no control over and comment on something they have no control over that actually could affect their livelihood, because we are being shadow banned when we mention things. You're putting people in incredibly difficult positions just to feed your own ego. And that is just the most unspiritual, unkind thing that I've ever seen. You will notice that I will block and ban people when they come onto my page. I don't care if somebody comments they don't believe in spirituality. They don't believe in what I do. Not a problem. Have that doubt. That's a good thing to have. But do not come on my page and be unspiritual, make negative comments about people, or try and bring the feeling down of my page. You'll be blocked immediately. And I have no doubt about it. And maybe some people don't even realize how negative they are being. But it affects the collective. And we've got to realize how our energy affects the collective. It is so important. Our growth, our spiritual growth, our inner concept, how we are putting out our energy is all going to be relevant over the next 2 to 3 years, because there is so much change coming. The adversity that we are going to face is going to need the resilience that is built through your inner concept and your self-concept. Now that's my rant over. I'm going to talk about how spirituality can influence your ability to enjoy your work and build your business success, because that's an important thing. We all need to have business success because we can't live on air, and being happy and joyful is one thing, and building the collective energy. But the reality is that we all need to live. Spiritual, energized employees and people that work are far more likely to sacrifice their egos and their self-interest in order for a company to build themselves. Spiritually energized people are more likely to be less stressed and more resilient to what is going on around them. And highly spiritualized people have been found to have lower stress perception when activities performed are meaningful in general. Spirituality protects you from stressful work events. That is, again, your self-concept, your self-love. It all comes back to that for building your self-interest and your spiritual energy. In a nutshell, spiritual energy really does create leaders, more motivated, more belief in yourself. You're more likely to be incredibly successful in business when you have a true love for yourself. Now, that's not talking about being self-absorbed. That's very different. But a love for yourself and a belief in yourself is going to put out positive energy into the world. When we have negative energy, it can bring us down. We are unable to control our emotions. We're constantly blaming other people. We're always immersing ourselves in negative experience. That can be like doom scrolling on social media. It can be searching for the negative relationships because you actually feel something when you're in a negative relationship or a toxic relationship, but you don't realize what you're feeling is actually love, is more obsession or attachment. Negative energy is really, really heavy. It can weigh you down. It works in the opposite way of positive energy, obviously, and it can make you feel overwhelmed, and you could have less likely to have success in business or in relationships. There is no doubt that we need to harness and maintain and grow spiritual positive energy. This is going to make not only your inner circle, your friends, yourself, your family feel positive, but it's going to help the collective. It is really important that the collective start feeling positive and working together in order to grow against the negative energy that is around at the moment. I've talked about this before, but just a few tips and tricks to grow your positive spiritual energy. And that's gratefulness, kind things to people, be kind, do kind tasks, smile when you're out, say something nice to somebody, even if they're a stranger. Think positive thoughts, be kind to yourself. It's really about who you are as a person in order that is going to make the difference, and trying to control your thoughts, as they are such a powerful tool to increase the spiritual energy. It's important to be conscious of your thoughts, your values, and your beliefs. This is a great concept that many people don't realize they have control over. They engulf themselves in the negative things such as the news, social media. They fall down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes and become incredibly vulnerable to things that people are selling or ideals that people are selling because they think it is a quick fix. So that's our chat about energy and how important it is. Remember, positive energy, positive spirituality is not toxic. It's not trying to make you be toxically positive, but it's about self-reflection and how you really think about yourself and how your own self-concept really affects the collective energy around you and how you handle your day-to-day tasks. It doesn't have to be a massive shift or change. It just needs to be the feeling, the thought that you can do what it is you're setting out to do instead of talking yourself out of it. Fear of the unknown can be really overwhelming. But when you're feeling positive and you talk to yourself positive and you remind yourself how fabulous you are every day, you will see the change in the energy around you. Remember that you are the power, you have the choice, and it is going to be up to you. Spirituality is always an individual thing. It's an individual journey. And for me, I work as a traditional medium. I have done this for many years. I have been able to prove time and time again that the afterlife exists, that we merely leave a physical body and become spirit and are around those that we love. I am able to prove that not only by my very accurate predictions that I make time and time again, but also by my ability to connect other people with their loved ones that have already transitioned. And that's how I work and how spirituality should be seen. It's a very basic belief. However, since social media, and I'm sure it's gone on for many years before, but since social media became a thing, so many people have been taken in by the ideal or the ideology of the new age thinking regarding the 5D, fifth dimension, and how we're all going to be left behind if we don't believe in the ascension. There's a new date every single year. And the latest one I'm being asked about all the time is the 3 days of darkness about to happen on the 8th of April. I have to take a deep breath when I talk about this. The 5D it's such a cultish way. It's a very dark side of spirituality. It breeds a lot of fear within people. And I have known people that have been paying certain practitioners to help them ascend to the 5D because they have a fear of being left behind. I also have heard of a lot of people paying money just to be part of cults that believe in the 5D and preach the new age side of things. There's a lot of fear that I have seen around cashless society, 5-minute or 15-minute cities. All of these things breed fear into people, and they're all conspiracy theories. I want to warn people about falling down these rabbit holes because it's not spirituality. It's actually putting fear into people. The belief in the fifth dimension, which it's a fallacy. It doesn't exist. We are all capable of bringing up our energy to a point that is positive. We are all capable of understanding things in a better way. But I do want to caution people who say that light workers and New Age light workers are all going to transcend from the 3D world to the 5D world. And it's a sort of tactic that is a promise of a utopia that doesn't exist. I get very cross when I see a lot of these videos and things like that, where people that claim to be spiritual, as I said right at the start, there's a lot of spiritual people claiming to be spiritual that don't actually have spiritual actions, and don't put their money where their mouth is, and will breed the negativity on social media and put fear into people. Again, it is up to you what you believe, but telling people that they are going to be left behind if they don't believe in a certain thing is very, very cultish. And many people who are confused about organised religion and are looking for answers and very vulnerable will turn to this sort of thing. So just be very, very careful about who you believe in and where you put your money. I am somebody that believes that we can all work on our inner self without, it's not a promise that you're going to be in a better place in the afterlife, because, as I've explained before, our ego leaves us when we leave the physical body. Our ego leaves us. So when we are in spirit, we don't think like we do today. We don't hold on to grudges. We don't have hate. We are pure love. And whether you want to believe in the fact that there is a fifth dimension out there and only the way that you think, believe is going to get you there, and you're going to be left behind on an earth that is suffering, I would question that, and I would question the morality of these people selling this. Please be very careful out there. Please be very careful on who you believe in, because spirituality isn't about pushing fear onto people that if you do X, Y, Z, you're going to benefit from this, that, or the other. You are you. You have the ability to grow your positivity. You have the ability to change the way you think about things by just believing in yourself and your inner concept, your self-concept. That is what will make the difference in your life. I will never judge another religion, because religion is called, well, it's faith. It's called faith for a reason. You have to have faith to believe in it. And I think that people that have faith in whatever religion they choose is an amazing thing, and it's a beautiful thing. But remember that not everything that you see on social media is real, and none more so than people trying to sell a concept that you are not worthy of being in the 5D that doesn't exist, and you can't be in it until you work on XYZ, and you have to pay something to do that. It makes me very, very sad that spirituality is being viewed and confused with this. I get asked questions about it all the time on my social media. True spirituality comes from within, and it's your choice on what you believe. I will never push that. It is up to you to make your choices. But I do want everyone to be safe and not be taken advantage of. So just be aware of that. That's my feeling towards the New Age side of things. I've also noticed some of the videos I've seen on this with people talking about having downloads. Download is something you get from your spirit guides, and it needs to be separated from your own egoic thoughts. And I've not seen many of these downloads have any proof or have any reality to them or have happened. So they're just fear-based, these downloads. And I listened to one the other day saying that things were going to happen that were really negative and really bad because the earth is changing in that way. And if you don't sign up to this thing that's going to be this amount a month, you're going to be left behind in the 3D where it's going to be a diseased, horrible earth, and we can promise you utopia. You can have your own utopia here. You just have to understand that spirituality doesn't work in a way of threats. Anyway, we're going to move on, and I'm going to make some predictions around the eclipse. Some of these have already been made on a joint video that I did with Laurie Rivers, but I would like to confirm some of them. So I'm going to give you a handful of predictions that are going to, what I've been shown, that can happen in the next couple of weeks. Remember, it goes on for quite a while. It's not just a small period of time. The first thing I have been shown is issues around the Indian Ocean. I feel like there'll be an underwater, an underwater earthquake of some sort that will cause a lot of water issues. Could be a tsunami threat around India, around that area. But I'm also very much drawn to New Zealand and an underwater earthquake or an earthquake offshore in New Zealand. There's going to be a lot of issues with weather. And when I say issues with weather, what I want to talk about is unseasonal weather. I'm talking about snow in places that don't usually get snow. I'm talking about torrential rain in places that wouldn't usually have that during March. I'm really drawn to issues around the border in Texas and Mexico. There could be some rallies, some fights. There could be extra resources pulled into that area. And I did make one prediction that I'm a little bit nervous about making. I do feel that if you are a member of the LGBTQI plus community, that you should be very aware of your surroundings in this coming weekend. And today is the 19th of March. This coming weekend and the weekend following, I feel like there will be some violence against your community. And I'm worried about sort of nightclubs and things like that in most areas. I don't know why I'm being shown mainly the US around this, and I'm not very good at the US geography, but I want to go around Southern California, Florida, and Texas. Please be careful in those areas. I feel like there could be some violent outbursts or something. So really watch out for that. I think there's going to be news coming out of the Vatican regarding the Pope's health. I do feel he'll pass this year, or he will pass the baton on to a new Pope he'll withdraw because of health issues. I made this prediction last year as well, but I feel like it's coming very close. I feel like we'll have a new Pope in June or July. So hold on to those predictions. I am really drawn to weather conditions during this eclipse, and water weather, like floods, tsunami warnings, movement underwater, sea creatures acting rather strange. I feel like there will be another incident with a ship or boat being sunk during this period of time as well. So hold on to all of that. News coming out from Buckingham Palace. Now, this isn't connected to the conspiracy theory regarding what's going on. There's going to be an announcement on the Wednesday. I don't think it's connected to that, but I feel like the King is going to speak very vocally in the next couple of weeks around his illness and what the prognosis is. He may not come out and say it exactly, but you will be able to read between the lines. And I also talked about the Princess of Wales or the Prince of Wales both talking. I don't think this is going to happen now. I feel like it's later in the year, talking about her illness as it is a chronic illness that has caused a surgery. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you to everyone that has listened along. I hope it has all been helpful. Don't forget to tune into Sassy Seers. The next episode will be out on the 20th, and I will see you all next week. Don't forget about my Patreon. If you join my Patreon, you can join for free. There are extra things that do get put up there for free members, but a lot of the predictions and videos and audio podcasts are up there for paid members. Lots of love. Take care, and I will see you next week.